Right. What is up, fellow bench warmers? Happy New Year. Surprise, everyone. My name is JJT. With Komish Eric, it's 2024, and who would have thought we will be back here at 2024? um, yeah, Komish, how are you?
Yes,
We're live today.
we're
We did a
live.
quick live
Yes.
session. First for the year, technically. First for
Yep.
the year. It's been a while. Just to keep everyone updated. It's just been a crazy end of year for me. Personal, nothing too serious, but just the time. Very busy and lots of uh, things happening um, around here at the house. So at least now today we took some time to. We are free, so we took some time to go live and well get ourselves updated. Actually, I'm not updated as much. It's like I'm just going through the motions of uh, the fantasy game because like last week I wasn't able to update a few days of my lineup just because of the schedule and I was on vacation as well. Anyway, Komish, how's everything going?
Uh,
Holding the fort. Komish is holding the fort for us.
yeah, I know. But yeah, it's been busy also past few months, like JJT. But uh, update, yeah, I'm still updated with most of the happenings. Just not been able to, I guess, make more moves in my leagues as much as I want because concentrating on at least giving out some content for us.
Yeah, that has always been the challenge, at least for us. Like I have some teams that are um, barely there, but it's just so hard to make trades if
Yeah.
we draft badly, then it's going to be a big problem for our teams, especially the teams that we are managing. And it's
Or
also hard
analyze
to,
your teams
yeah,
better.
and it's also hard to create trades because to make the right trades or right offers, you really have to think about them a
I
lot.
actually made some trades, but full disclosure, all of my trades, if there are how many, I don't know, were offered to me. I just look at it. If I like it, just accept it. A lot of my leagues, I'm actually at the bottom also. So sometimes I just look at the player. I feel like, oh, I don't have this player. I want to try owning this player, this and that. So I'll just add him. Mostly it's been like that. It's not me offering or thinking about strategies as of late with my teams, no, because of the time constraints and a lot of the number of teams that we're managing kind of makes it really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, but hopefully there's still we still have 9 weeks to go before
I
we
think,
start playoffs, right?
yeah,
9,
around,
right? Around
yeah,
9 weeks,
8 or 9. Yeah.
right? So yeah. Anyway, throw in your questions. We'll answer them as much as we can. But before we do those, we answer your questions and give you guys a shout out. Let's talk about some fantasy. Maybe we could start off with as we are talking about player teams. Maybe we could start off with disappointing players for this year. Like you said, some of your teams or some of my teams are not doing as well. Um, and are these because of certain players? The biggest disappointment for you so far?
I have a lot of Lamelo Ball, as you know, because of where our teams were
Picking.
uh, picking around 7, 8, 9. And I love Lamelo, as you know. I was high on him going to this season. Well, he was good. No, it's the injuries. We cannot do anything about it. It's just, I guess, right now we'll be uh, doubly careful with
Careful.
him because it's the same thing. It's the ankles all over again and again. So next season, maybe we'll really think twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times before before we pick him. But Lamelo is,
I told you, right, when he got injured, this could be a case of like an Anthony Davis situation wherein
maybe, but
you have to be cautious because of the injury and he will drop through the drafts in the
Yeah,
next
but Anthony
few years.
Davis, the difference is, I guess, Anthony Davis injuries, different parts of the body. It's just, he always gets injured here and there. But it's, I think it's scarier or more troublesome if it's the same part of the body. Like Steph
Hmm.
Curry before, remember? Uh,
Yeah,
with what happened to him. We have to really see that he's past that. Maybe already a whole season of not getting the same injury in that part of the body before we're comfortable not picking him. I mean, not being comfortable picking him, comfortable picking him that high because we picked him in the top 10, which is really high. So maybe, you can pick him, but maybe in the second round or maybe early third, something like that in the next season. So even if he's healthy going into the season, because come on, sprained ankle, for other players, it's just what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know how long he's been out. He's been out
three,
way
four
longer.
weeks. I
I
think
think more
three,
than
4 weeks.
that. Let me see. His
No update as well, and that's the worst part,
last game
right?
was November 26. That is
4 or 5
what,
4 weeks, five
more
weeks.
more than that's 6 weeks already. November
Yeah,
26, 4 weeks of December, 1 to 2 weeks of January, 6 weeks, and no updates. No, that's just a sprained ankle. It's not
yeah.
even
No updates. That's the worst part. No
yeah.
updates when he'll return. And to add more pain to this is that the Hornets are not going anywhere. They're pretty much not. No one's expecting them to win games,
That is the
right?
biggest problem, yes. But
So
if
that means he will not be risk. He will not take a lot of risk in playing.
but just to remind them, before he got injured, the 4 games before he got injured, he averaged 36 points. No, he
Yeah,
averaged
he played
36
well.
points, and he averaged around, I think this is 6 rebounds and 9 assists. 36, 6 and 9.
Yeah,
So which is and 5 3-pointers. That was his average the 4 games before he got injured, with almost perfect free throws also. Tyrese is doing all the things Tyrese is doing, but Lamelo was doing even better. I mean,
yeah,
efficiency
because of
wise,
the
maybe not.
scoring.
Yeah, because of the scoring, and he's also getting a lot of steals. So he was doing the same thing as Halley was doing. If he did not get injured, we don't know what the narrative would be. But in fantasy, we cannot cannot rely
Yeah,
on that.
yeah. But I think one of the so moving on from Lamelo, I think the Lamelo case is more of really an unfortunate situation where injuries happen. Injuries can happen to anyone. Actually, if you look at it this year so far, injuries are not as bad as the past years,
Which makes it,
right?
which hurts more for if you own the players that this it got injured, because they're the only ones, like
Yeah,
Lamelo's the only first rounder I've seen who's really been out. No,
yeah, out for
if
a
you
long
own
time.
maybe Jimmy Butler, has been one of the second rounders who are, it's been really, really, really frustrating injury wise.
Well,
So if you own these guys, it hurts more, than
yeah,
previous seasons that maybe there are lots more players like Damian in one season, Damian, and who else got injured. So at least there are other teams out in your league who also are dealing with the same thing. Not like this season.
yeah. Yeah. Other one disappointing player I have is Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I guess that's where we're
I
going.
mean, there's I couldn't think of anyone more disappointing than Jordan Poole. Um, because
Yeah.
of it's really far from what people were expecting, or at least we were kind of expecting. I didn't expect him to do like the third round, fourth round, 40s being picked in the 40s, but at least get there to the maybe the 80s, or the highest maybe the 60s, right? But he is nowhere found there, and it's really bad. I mean, I don't know if he's still a buy low
No,
player
no, no,
at
no,
this
no, no,
point.
no, no. No, no, no. He's not a buy low player at all. We have, well, of course, you're getting my perspective when I write in FBW. No, I've always said Just stay away. Even if he gets a 30-point game, 40-point game, he gets hot in one game or another game. I don't care. Just stay away. I don't care if he gets traded away from Washington to another team. Just the body language,
No
the
one will.
mindset.
No, I don't think no one will get him as well.
But I think the Wizards
They want to.
are they want
They're
to trade him.
disappointed. Yeah, they
Yeah, they
want.
want to
I
trade
think
him.
there was
And
a news that they wanted to ship him because they didn't expect it to be like this. They were expecting him to be the top guy, and
and
they were disappointed as well.
I understand you're thinking that no one will get him, but never say never in the NBA. It just takes one. It just takes one, and just takes a situation that someone gambles on him. But even so, just stay away. He plus minus is the worst among all players in the NBA. He's the worst, and he's on pace to be the worst ever. He's gonna in plus minus. That just shows you his impact beyond the numbers, beyond the numbers of scoring, field goal, and everything. His impact on the team is a losing impact. He doesn't give anything really to help win. So nothing positive. I've seen nothing positive. I've already said that it's better for you to probably drop him already at this point. Now, if there is,
Well, I haven't seen Jordan Poole being dropped, but I've seen
yes,
him being traded for some, low end players at this point. Maybe a buy, thinking that it's a buy low, but like I said, I don't think, like he said, it doesn't seem like it's a buy low. It's more like a stay away type of situation.
a lot of my pool came with Lamelo. That's why a lot of my teams are in trouble because those two are was paired in my team, and some players moving on that I think was also disappointing. I have some, but I don't have a lot. One is Walker Kessler.
I was,
Um,
about to say that as well.
I didn't have a lot of Walker Kessler because during the draft we said he was being picked too high. No, he was really being
Mhm.
picked too high, and we said we're not comfortable. Both of us said that we were not comfortable where he was being picked. No, and then he got injured also, the elbow injury, so that hurt him even more. But even when he came back, I think coaching has something to do with it also. He's not
Is
been
it
given the
coaching
starting
or
position.
no? He was the starter early on.
Not consistent. And the early on before the injury, the elbow
Yeah,
injury. But when he came
he
back,
was
he
bad
was
then. I think
yeah.
he's getting better now,
I
but
he
he's
to
been
be
worse when the season started.
to be fair to him, he's a top 70 guy even with how bad he is, but that's just because of blocks. We know
Yeah,
how skewed the rankings are because of blocks. So if people will say, but he's a top 70 guy, so what's your problem? If you picked him in the 60s, he's not that low, and then not that far off the value wise, but it's just because of blocks. That's why he's ranked high. Rebounds not been the same as before, and I blame the coaching. I blame the coaching because his role has not been consistent. Like he could start at some games, and then some games he'll be off the bench. The minutes are up and
yeah.
down. So
Utah's rotation is a bit how do you
yes,
say that,
not a
unpredictable.
bit.
Like they start Chris Dunn, now they're starting Chris Dunn. They were starting Keontae before he got injured. Now they're starting Fontecchio. They were starting Olinik early
Yeah.
on, right? And Clarkson just came back from injury. So I guess the rotation has been bad, but uh, really disappointing. But at least the blocks are there.
If
I
you
guess that's a silver lining in this.
if you can get him for cheap and you need the blocks is part of your strategy, I would be okay buying him low. Buying low, how low? People will say, how low will you go for Walker Kessler? Let's say somebody like maybe at the lower end, maybe like Bojan, Detroit. I mean, players like Clay. I would still prefer Kessler over Clay, but it really depends on your strategy, I guess, what your team's build is. But those kinds of players, I think Kessler might have a higher upside because the rebounding is something I think if he's given consistent minutes like the 24, 25 minutes every single game, 24, 25 minutes, the rebounding can get higher. Of course, field goal is solid, turnovers are less, and then the blocks might get more consistent. So if you can get him for those kinds of player, yeah, I think he's a buy low in that sense. And Utah is a team that I think will be much different come trade deadline. No, come a few weeks, I think they're gonna make moves. John Collins for one, I think they're trying to trade him. We're sure Clarkson is up there, possibly also being shopped around. So they might be a different team
Mhm.
come a few more weeks, and they're not going anywhere. I don't think they're gonna contend. So
They're worse this year than last year.
they might be out of contention. They might change to start their young players like Kessler, Keontae. So it's okay to gamble on him, especially if you're a little high in the standings.
All right. Throw in your questions, guys. We'll go through some. First, Ken Yves Tornilla has a Jordan Poole question. Well, actually, it's a trade that I think in his league, or I'm not sure. Monk Poole for DeJounte got vetoed.
Monk
I'm
pool for
assuming it's,
Dejante.
yeah. I'm sure it's. I'm assuming it's DeJounte. That's why it got vetoed.
Yeah, I think it's a veto because if we are saying that pool is, I mean, we're not again. We're not saying they should veto it, but we're saying that the other side is clearly the winner in this trade, the Dejounte side, because we're saying pool is a drop, right? So it's
Yeah, I can.
yeah,
I can see why this is a veto. Um,
yeah,
whether it's fair or not, it's hard. You really can't judge. Obviously, the Dejounte side has a very big advantage. I mean, if you're gonna get a player like Dejounte, at least put in some player who's there in the top 50, maybe.
that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
I mean, Monk is playing well from time to time, but he doesn't
well,
get enough trade respect.
to be fair, Monk is top 100 this year because of the
Yeah,
assists. No, because of the assists. Um, but he's good, but he's not worth Dejounte for sure. And Jordan Poole is not very
worth anything at this point.
at this point. He's not worth anything. Name value wise, maybe, but in the actual, if you actually look at the trade for what it is, it's Dejounte by a mile. No.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see why it's a veto. And he also put a hashtag here, unleash Osar. Maybe we can talk about Osar a bit.
Yeah.
Osar has been great early on, but now, like Utah, Detroit's rotation has been somewhat of a blur with several, especially since Bojan came back.
Well, we did see that when Bojan comes back, he will get affected. But aside from blaming Monty for the rotation, we have to also say that Osar really has taken a step back. I think there's a rookie wall kind of thing. Defenses have kind of, when opposing teams have their scouting report on you, it gets harder, and
Yeah,
then you have to adjust. And but when the time that you try to adjust, you're losing minutes because somebody came in, you lost your starting position. As a rookie, the way I see it when I watch their games is that Osar is trying to do too much sometimes because maybe he
yeah,
wants to stay on the court longer like before. It was easy because there was nobody else, so you play more freely, you can be yourself. But right now he seems too tense to perform so that he can get the minutes, and because of that he makes a lot of mistakes, offensive fouls, forcing shots, and all of those things. It
no,
doesn't help
but
that
that the
he can't make he can't make his outside shot.
no, but that's
And
a scoring part. I think what's more disappointing at this point are the rebounding numbers are down, the steals and defensive numbers are down, which was really the categories that he was excelling. I
but if
mean, I
you
don't think anyone was expecting him to score like 15, 16, 17 points a game, but at least he gets there to the 8, 9 rebounds per game, and then maybe a steal in it,
but
one or two steals or one or two blocks.
But the minutes, if you give him
Yeah,
like 14, 15 minutes before, now it's down to 8, 7, 8 minutes.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you give him 14, 15 minutes, as a rookie, as a teenager, it plays with your mind, like, okay, I have to just do this. because this is my role. This is what they want me to do. It's different, you know. I think uh everything is just contributing to he's not playing well enough, no, for us to tell Monty to play him more. It's obvious that he himself there's a problem with his confidence right now. So will it
Yep.
come back? After let's see what they do during the trade deadline because supposedly they're gonna be buyers.
But this is 1 month away.
Yeah,
I
I
think at
mean,
this point,
if you're still holding Osar,
I
either
think
you're
at this
number
point
one,
it's a drop.
yeah, either you're number one and you just want to luxury stash him, or you've not been following fantasy, or you just don't care anymore, so just keep him in your roster. He should have been dropped a month ago, maybe something like that.
Yeah,
So
maybe a couple of weeks ago. Yeah.
yeah, for sure, a couple of weeks ago he should have been dropped already.
Shout out to Joseph Crisostobal. Good evening, Joseph. Angel
Congrats
John Maria.
to Joseph, new baby.
Oh, congratulations, Joseph. I've not been updated in Facebook. So three players that are most likely to get traded. We'll answer that in a bit. Shout out to Dan George. Easier questions to answer. Good thing Kuzma for Jalen Johnson. Dan George asking, is it a good
We
thing that he traded Kuzma for Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, I wholeheartedly approve of that trade. You know, I've been featuring Jalen Johnson a lot. No, before he got injured, and now after he returned, the guy is a top 50 upside player. Kuzma, as good as Kuzma is playing right now, this is his peak. Now Kuzma's peak, considering number one, he's likely to be traded to a team who will contend, who will not give him all the usage he wants. Now, likely to be traded. If he doesn't get traded, a big chance he will be in and out of the lineup of Washington going forward after the trade deadline, maybe March, because of probably tanking, resting, load managing, or whatever. So the outlook for Kuzma is not good. And then Jalen Johnson, the fantasy stat set of Johnson is way better than Kuzma.
Yeah.
So definitely a good trade.
Coach Sandy, Happy New Year. Coach Sandy's been killing it in our invitationals. Um, back, he's ready to avenge last year's performance. Ben's degree is asking, is Suggs a sell high? All right, so this year I was thinking because I have a few Suggs um, in my teams. This year we haven't really talked much about Suggs. Even during the before the season started, last year we talked about him. We were kind of high on him, and he disappointed. This year he was just low key, low profile, but among the Orlando Magic guards, he is the best guard that the Magic have right now.
Yep. Yep.
So is this sustainable or is this a sell high type of situation?
He is a sell high. No, he's a sell high. The past 2 weeks past 2 weeks he's been playing top 80 level. So if you can get him around for get a player at that level for him, I'm okay with that. But is this sustainable? I think it is sustainable. He's averaging what 13 and a half and 1.5 steals, 2 3 pointers. So that's where his value lies. The assists and the rebounds are just so basically Marcus Smart. No, the way I compare him to is Marcus Smart. What makes it different this year compared to before is, of course, more 3 pointers, more usage, and he's been making more of them. You know, his field goal is at 46%, which is his career high. He's usually been at 40, 41. Now at 46, that's decent. No, that's something we can live with for Jalen Suggs. So
Plus the
I think
steals are nice. The steals
the
are
steals
nice.
are nice. So the steals, we know that ever since, no, that he's a guy that can steal. We were not high on him this year,
Yeah.
but a lot of things happened. Number one, he was able to make more shots. Number two, Markel Fultz. Uh, we did not talk about him, but since we're talking about Suggs, another player that killed my some of my fantasy teams is Markel Fultz. Uh, I have some of them, and some of his stocks, and he's played how many games? I don't know. Even
Yeah.
in the games he's played, he's been trash. totally trash. And so that opened up a lot of, minutes, bigger role for Jalen Suggs, which I did not foresee because I thought, it's going to be Markel Fultz. And who's the other player there? Of course, there's
Cole.
Cole Anthony, those players. So I think that helped Suggs. And I think Fultz is about to come back, but I don't believe he's going to be healthy 100%.
Yeah.
No, I don't trust that will happen. So I think Suggs can sustain this. But if you get, he has had some big games lately, Jalen. So
Yeah.
definitely is a sell high for those games. The value of those games, not his current value, which is around 100. I think he can stay at that 195, 100, 105 range. But if you can get higher than that because of his big games lately, you should do it.
What's a realistic candidate? Maybe Jalen Johnson.
Well, I don't think Jalen Johnson owners will be trading him, considering he's hot right now. He's
Who's
near the top 50 at this point. They may have to go with somebody who's been struggling. This is I'm not saying it's gonna happen. Like Mikal has been bad. I mean, there's no sugarcoating it, and a lot of managers are already frustrated because he's usually good with his percentages. But even that's been really down lately, and then the volume has not been there.
we talked about this before
Y-
the season? The percentages will not be as good because
Yeah.
he is he has the license to shoot from anywhere.
Yes, that's true.
And it
And
was bad last year when he got traded to Brooklyn. It was not this bad, but it was trending down already.
it's really, yeah, it's really bad as of late. The past few games, like 38%, 28%, 36%, 40%, 43%. Last month he had a 4 out of 21, 4 out of 16. He's been killing, and this is the thing, managers picked him not expecting that. So when he does something like that on volume attempts, it kind of really messes up your team. No, messes up your
Yeah,
team because managers were not probably punting field goals when they pick him, right? So
yeah,
it's frustrating, it's irritating. So if the manager is really frustrated, maybe a package. I'm not saying one on one. No, Suggs for Mikal probably, even with how good Suggs has been lately, might not fly with the Mikal manager. Might not, no, because Mikal has been what, a top 25 pick of that manager. But a package might do the deal right now. Might do the trick for
yeah.
for for
Uh,
the for the Suggs
so
owner.
you Mikal is in your buy low candidate.
Uh I'm not that in
Convinced.
Roto. Maybe he's more of a Roto guy. I don't know
Not
what he.
even at this point. No,
Yeah,
not
yeah, I know,
even.
not even. But I think he won't shoot this badly rest of the season. It should normalize. No, it should normalize a bit. No, but ever since I've already said Mikal is for me is more of a Roto guy. So buy low, yeah, it depends on your strategy, and I guess if you can get him for a top seven, giving up a top 70 guy for him, yeah, that's okay. But it depends on your build
Yeah.
really
Um,
for Mikal.
Barrett the Raptors, good for fantasy. Your favorite, RJ Barrett.
Maybe with RJ Barrett, but I don't see any difference with Barrett in Toronto and in New York. I don't see any change. He's still the same RJ Barrett. He was hot early on with in New York. He was making his free throws and all those stuff, but later on it just normalized, just became what he was before. It just doesn't get enough stocks, steals. No, and then
Yeah,
the
just
shooting is,
scoring, pure scoring, nothing else.
well, he has made
He
his three
did
pointers.
some good, yeah, and he did well in the rebounding category early on.
Yeah, yeah. He can
Um,
give you decent rebounds for a guard. For a shooting guard eligible player, he can give you 5 to 6 rebounds, so that helps. But if he's not making his shots, then it really hurts. Like for this season, he's shooting 42%. No, so that's kind of big value killer for me. And his free throws, well, it's better, but not as good as when the start of the season was. So I think it's the same. The role is the same. He's gonna start. He's gonna get minutes, but he was doing that in New York, anyways.
Alendri ng who wins this trade? Jalen Johnson for Jalen Williams.
I like Jalen Johnson this year. I will go Jalen Johnson. Jalen Williams is solid, still good this year. He's right where he was picked, basically. Jalen Williams. But the steals have not been as good as last year. So I would
Yeah.
probably go with Jalen Johnson.
Martin, that's from Alendri ng Martin Corey. Said he traded Poole and Steph for SGA and Scoot. Steph has been,
Another
I don't
player
know.
who probably has struggled a bit.
I This is
No?
the last year I'm gonna pick Steph. I have only one Steph stock, and it's the uh, Mount Rushmore League of Papi Roy, and it's been bad. Steph has been bad, very disappointing.
Well, lately, yes. The shooting this year has dipped. No, scoring dipped. Not been the best year, I would say, but at least he's healthy. You can look at it that way. At least he's healthy, and he's been giving you 3 pointers. The points are still good. So overall, yeah, disappointing, but probably would not curse him as much as you curse the others, maybe not as much. But that trade was Curry and Poole for SGA and Scoot.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
mean,
that's a great
for
deal.
SGA alone, that's a
Yeah.
good deal already. I mean, forget about Scoot. Scoot's been probably the a bonus for you, but yeah, Poole and Steph alone makes up for that.
SGA is the number one player in fantasy right now, and I don't think that's gonna change unless he gets injured or something. So
Well, it can
anytime,
change with Jokic, but I think Jokic is just in cruise control this year.
even if he won't fall to number two. Won't fall below number two. He will be a top two player.
Yeah, yeah, that I
Yeah,
can say. But I mean, the top one player, there's still a lot of games to be played. Although Jokic, like I said, is more on the cruise control. I
yeah,
think a few weeks ago, he had a couple of weeks wherein he was just not as good. Um,
yeah. Yes,
I think
yes.
it was 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
SGA
Um,
will finish number one. That's my prediction. SGA will finish number one. So when you get him for Pool, especially using Pool as a kicker, that's a great use of a basic waste trash player already.
Yeah. All right. So Alendri Nang, I think the question a while ago was not complete. The trade was Jalen Johnson and Jalen Williams for Franz Wagner and Mikal Bridges.
Hmm. Well, I like Jalen Johnson and Jalen Williams, no, as a combo. No. Yeah, I like that group more than the Franz Wagner side. France has been good, but between France and Jalen Williams, yeah, I know France has a bit better usage, has been better this year, but not by a lot compared to Jalen Williams. Not by a lot. If
Yeah.
you look at their ranks, they're close
No,
to each other.
because France does not contribute as well in other categories.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That's the
true.
big difference. I mean, he can score. He's probably if you need scoring, he's probably score more than Jalen Williams. But the rest, maybe Jalen Williams wins, like the defensive categories, maybe the rebounding, maybe Franz wins assist. The percentages, maybe they're other than field goal, maybe they're gonna be the same in free throw. So I guess that pretty much evens up their
But it's a
matchup.
very fair trade. It's a very
Yeah,
fair trade. I think really, to be honest, you can't say some side wins over the other side. I think overall it would be a wash for me. I mean, even the stats, if you add up all the stats of those four players, it's gonna be close. So it's a matter of who stays healthy, who gets hot at the right
yeah.
time, to see who wins and who doesn't.
All right. Another trade check here. Jokic, Conley, and Michael Beasley for
Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley, sorry. For Miles Turner, I would assume this is Miles Turner, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Drew Holiday.
That's a two very different, stat set guys. Of course, JJJ, right? It's JJJ
Yeah,
and
JJ
Miles
and Miles
Turner.
Turner.
That's the whole blocks thing there, right?
Yeah,
3 points blocks, basically same situation. And then who's the third guy? Drew.
Drew.
So that's also defensive stocks, some threes. And you're getting back Jokic, who's different, with the efficiency, with the volume. So that's totally different. If your team is punting points a little bit or punting certain categories, then maybe Miles and JJJ, or even punting rebounds. No, punting
Mhm.
rebounds. They're very 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 solid combo. So I wouldn't say one
It's a
wins
yeah,
over
but
the
I think it's
other.
a fair trade. I think that's I think you could still get a little more for Jokic, but since the Jokic guy gave up just Condi and Beasley, I think um,
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough.
yeah.
That's a big call already. That's from Teddy Mark. Christian C, is this a good trade? Wemby for PJ Washington, Buddy Hield, and Dennis Schroeder.
That's a veto, man. I don't know. PJ
Wait, how's
Schroeder.
Wemby doing in fantasy? I think he's like top 20.
Yeah. He's top 20. He's top 20 and rising. No, especially when Zach Collins was put on the to the bench. They made Wemby the starting center. That really helped him with his rebounds, the blocks. That helped him a lot. So yeah, Wemby's top 20. You gave up PJ Washington, who borderline top 100 guy. Schroeder, yeah, he's been good, but he with quickly in Toronto, he's lost some value. He's barely in the 100, maybe outside of the 100. And then who's the last one?
Buddy
Uh,
Hield.
Buddy Hield, who's a drop. We have said he's a drop in standard leagues. He's a drop already. He started today, but if Bruce Brown rested because it's a back to back, when Bruce Brown comes back the next game, he's gonna be off the bench, and we know the difference of Buddy starting and coming off the bench. So I don't know that if there's a trade to veto, that's the
Actually, yeah,
trade to
that's
veto.
for me. It's a veto. I mean, if you have a guy who's a top 20, just some trade tips for you guys so that it won't get vetoed. If you have a guy who's top 20, and you're trying, even if you're trying to sell high on certain players, but if there's a guy there involved that's solid top 20, it's not like we're not sure if he's gonna be able to sustain top 20. Wemby was picked there, right there, top 20, and he's holding that top 20. That means he's doing what he's supposed to do. You should at least put in another, like, at least a top 50, 40 guy right there, just to make it really close from name value and actual value.
But I think this might be a actual trade that already was agreed upon. I don't know if
Maybe.
the other manager agreed to this deal, then good for you. And if it's not vetoed by your league, then you really got, you really won out. You
Yeah.
got lucky.
But yeah, that's how you, if it did get vetoed, then good. But if it did, then that's the tip. At least put in some guy there that's top 50 in the eyes of the majority. That's top 50. Anyway, drop Dylan Wright and Looney. Looney's been a drop for a
What
long
team is
time.
this? 14, 12, 16? Because they're not even players you should be
Yeah, yeah.
rostering in 12 or
14
14
team,
teams. No.
definitely no.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Even
been
in
dropped.
14 teams, he's not
I don't
they're
think
supposed.
Dylan playing,
Yeah, Dylan's back. Dylan's back already for
but
a
he's
couple of
not
games.
playing as many games yet. He hasn't played that many games yet.
Because of the injury, but he's back. But he's not. Still off the bench, not getting consistently enough minutes to. He's good in fantasy. We know that with the steals, but he's not getting like 20 minutes or 25 minutes off the bench. To warrant a roster spot even in 16 teams. I would say there are players that you probably should go to than Dylan Wright.
All right, Carlo Dio. Dio Carreza is asking Derek White, rest of the season, sell or just enjoy the ride?
Enjoy the ride, man. Enjoy the ride. Derek White. One thing about players that you enjoy the ride is because they don't need high usage, for them to sustain
Perform.
the value.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't need the ball. You know, he's the top point guard in blocker among guards.
Yeah.
You know, he's shots come not because he has to get the ball, but because there's Tatum, Kristaps, and everybody else, and he gets open. He's one
What's
of
he
their
now? Top
best.
70? Top 80?
No, he's higher than that.
50?
Derek White is top 30. And if you look at the numbers of Derek White, you may argue that it's not sustainable. But for me, as I said, 2.73 pointers, he gets a lot of open attempts, especially in the corner. You know, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, 1.3 blocks. 1.2 steals, 1.3 blocks might go down a little bit, but not by a lot. He's shown that he can block ever since. You know, we know that. We have talked about him being
Yeah.
a good shot blocker for a guard. So all those numbers are not out of this world numbers for him to not be sustain it.
No,
So
actually, if you think about it, those numbers are out of this world numbers considering that he has Tatum in front of him, he has Jalen Brown, he has
yeah,
Kristaps. I mean, he is
but
not even,
he's not scoring in the 20s, you know. If maybe the 16 points go down a little, but the way I see it, he Drew is not as good a shooter as he is, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe he just fits with them better because he doesn't need the ball a lot, you know, to contribute. So enjoy the ride, but if someone offers you Wemby for him, maybe just saying, you know, if somebody offers you a guy like Shet, Wemby, or I don't know, whoever, I mean a guy in that range, then think about it. Let's say Paul George, Kawhi,
hmm,
think about it, because I mean, for sure, as good as Derek White is, those guys are better than White. Maybe White is safer, but the
yeah.
upside of Kawhi, Paul George is, you know, higher.
Ben Simmons. Any news on Ben Simmons?
I've seen videos. uh, he's already doing workouts with the coach,
All
but
right.
he's not taking any contact yet. But he's on the court. He's probably dribbling against cones or against immobile objects again, showing off his muscles, dunking, and then making managers salivate again that he's in a good shape. But no on court workout, nor no practices yet. So it's probably gonna be, I don't know, 2 more weeks, 3 more weeks at the very least for him before he comes back.
Uh, all right. Thoughts on Tyus Jones? Tyus Jones has been playing well.
Yeah, Tyus Jones has been another player who's been playing well, but the
Sell
problem with
high.
Jones, only because we don't know what happens in Washington. No?
Yeah.
That's our concern. Will Tyus get traded? Big chance he does,
Or
but
will he get rested later on?
big chance also he gets rested. Early in the season, they were playing games with Tyus minutes. When they're up, they rest him, because when he plays, they're
Better.
competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when they're up, they rest him until the other team catches up, you know, and then they're down, then they put him back. So the minutes were low because of that. And Washington is one of those teams that have been blown out a lot, and they will get blown out a lot going forward. So whether he stays in Washington, even if they don't rest him, his minutes will stay in the 20s because of that. He's not gonna play garbage minutes, right? So that's the problem. But Tyus is top 60 this year. A rare point guard doesn't hurt you anywhere. You know, it doesn't get
Yeah.
turnovers, field goal, everything is solid, solid. So I love Tyus Jones. Just wish he played for a better team.
Um. All right. This one. Sell high on Anthony Simons.
It's okay also. I would be okay with selling Simons, but I do not think Simons will be load managed as much, because Probably I think the Blazers are going to start are losing also. No, they're starting to lose also. Maybe they don't need to load manage him as much, and they've not shown that they're gonna do that. But if you can sell high on him, I think that's a good move also because of the situation again with Portland and a team in the West that's like the Washington, San
Yeah.
Antonio. Yeah.
FJD Lim. That question, by the way, was from Dan Joynes. FJD Lim is asking a trade question. Jokic and Eric Gordon was traded for. They tried to trade Jokic and Eric Gordon for Embiid and Lively, and it got vetoed. It should not be vetoed. I don't think it
Jokic and
should be
Eric Gordon for Lively.
for Lively and Embiid.
I understand why it was vetoed though. I mean, but no, I know it should not be vetoed if there's no collusion. Just let them play. It's not that far. But of course, Embiid is ranked higher than Jokic this year. No, number
Yeah,
one. So even if you say okay, Jokic is still the better player, whatever, they're equal. Now, let's just put it that way. They're equal. At least for this year, they're equal. No, they're not that far off. So it's basically lively for Eric Gordon. So you tell me, is that veto? If that's the trade, lively for Eric Gordon, would you veto that? I think you would. So that's why I said I can understand. Maybe the managers are saying Embiid is not as good as Jokic, so you have to give me somebody way better than Eric Gordon to compensate. But the numbers don't say that this year.
yeah,
Uh, and actually, last year they're 1-2, and they're not that far off.
yeah.
If you see, so I think that's
No,
too much.
I think that's. I don't think it's veto worthy. Even if you put it at that, I just think that from a lot of managers' eyes, Jokic is
Still
better.
Jokic.
Still Jokic, right? He commands a premium when you try to get him, and that somehow is compensated by an Embiid and a Lively, who's pretty much this trade is Embiid Lively for Jokic. You can throw out maybe just throw out Eric Gordon. I've seen Eric Gordon being in and out of the FA pool, so I think that's it. And if that's the
But
premium you get for Jokic, I think that's fair enough.
there's
Um,
tiers to this. That's why it's important to have tiers. I think where do you put if this is like Steph and Lively for Jokic, let's say. I think that would be a fair trade also. Like a Tatum and Lively for Jokic, that's a fair trade. But the point is, I think Jokic, Embiid, and SGA are in one tier. No, before it's like Jokic on one and then the others a different tier. But I think right now in the tier level, I think the three of them are in that one tier. And then Halliburton is solo on the second tier. And then those are the next guys, no, after them. So that's
yeah,
why I think if you have two players in the same tier and then you're adding Lively and then the other managers putting Eric Gordon. So maybe that's what the voters thought. But if that gets vetoed, for me it's an easy solution. Replace Eric Gordon with somebody a little better, maybe
yeah.
a little,
Someone
maybe not
who's
as good as Lively.
not as good as
And
Lively, but still rosterable.
yeah, somebody higher, and I think that would pass. I think that would pass. So it's easy. It's an easy fix.
It's not too
That's
far, really.
yeah, not too
It
far.
could go either way. All right. What else are the questions? Let's see a quick short ones. Uh, Bogdan early shutdown. Bogdanovich for the
Atlanta
Pistons. No,
Bogdan.
no, the Bojan, the Detroit Bojan.
Detroit
Well,
Bojan.
I think Detroit is going to be the same as last year. Bojan, the older guys, will probably be shut down earlier. Um, I think
If
that's
he
what's gonna happen.
if
And
he
then
gets
the
if he gets any sort of injury, he will be shut down.
yeah,
Let's just put it that way.
which yeah, which usually happens for player like Bojan. I mean, he
But
started
but
injured.
but one thing with Detroit though, they as I said, the rumors are they want to add veterans instead of selling their veterans. So if they keep like Bojan and then add some more veterans, they'll be more competitive. they've lost so much that I think even if Bojan plays, they're gonna still be bad. No, so maybe shut down
But he's been
again. If
playing
it's a
now, and they're still bad.
yeah, I mean if it's a legit injury, yeah, maybe. But if there's no injury, I don't think he's gonna be shut down. Maybe his role scales back a bit. The minutes go down a bit. That I think that is more possible. He won't get as much usage and big a role. Maybe that's what I see. But total shutdown without a legit major injury, I don't think the percentage is as high as before.
All right. How about this? Should I trade Reeves or hold?
I've always said trade Reeves. No, I
All right. This trade, one trade that came across the other day was Austin Reeves for Isaiah Hartenstein.
wow.
There were a few players, managers who said that it should be vetoed. Hartenstein's been playing well, and he's always been a fantasy darling, a fantasy
I
manager.
I tweeted, requoted, retweeted a mess something about Hartenstein being number one in steals and blocks this January. Steals and blocks, number one. Number two in rebounds. He's top 50 currently. Even with everything, how he started and all those things. He's really, really a good fantasy player. But
Yeah,
cannot tell me that that's going to be a veto because as late as last week or 2 weeks ago, people have dropped Hartenstein, and I've been getting questions about dropping Hartenstein. So yeah, I mean maybe managers have not seen the real value of Hartenstein, but Austin Reeves is not somebody who's like chop liver or whatever. I mean he has value also. So I think if both managers agreed on that deal, that should push through. That is not something that should be vetoed.
yeah. So Austin Reeves a hold rest of the season
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
yeah. He's a hold. He's a hold rest of the season. But the question is, should you trade him? I would want to trade Austin Reeves. He's another player
All right.
who, for
If you're gonna trade Austin Reeves, would you rather have Hartenstein than Austin Reeves at this point?
yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, Hartenstein. I actually compared Hartenstein to who? What did I compare him? I think it was Walker Kessler. That was last week. That was last week. I already said that.
No, he's far better than Walker Kessler.
Yeah, but that wasn't clear at that point because whenever I write about Hartenstein, people always ask me, should I drop him? Should I pick him up?
He
There's
is
Hartenstein in waivers.
maybe
So,
closer to Claxton.
yeah, right now they're closer to Claxton. If you look at another stat, opponents' field goal percentage near, I mean, challenging centers, I mean, 3 to 4 feet from the basket. Hartenstein, I think, is in the top five. And that says something about rim protection. Players who are in the top there are Brook Lopez, the usual players. And Hartenstein measures well with those players. So he's a guy who really protects the rim very well. And he steals. He gets steals. And he
Yeah.
rebounds. No, the thing is, he kind
What
of
did he do today? Like 4 steals and
19 rebounds, I think, and then I don't know, four or
three
five steals,
steals.
something
Three.
like
Yeah.
that. The problem was when Mitch Robinson went down. Jericho
They didn't
Sims
start.
was
Yeah, they didn't start him immediately.
yes, and but when Sims did not do well, Hartenstein also did not play that outstandingly. Like 8 points, 9 rebounds, something like that. So
Yeah.
it's borderline, not really something like what he's doing now. But it just took a little longer, I guess, for him to
Is
get
he a
his
sell
bearing.
high now at this point?
If you're gonna sell him for top 40 player, yes, he's a sell high at that point. But if you're gonna sell him for a player who's just in the top 670, 75, like Jalen Williams, let's say, or Austin Reeves, maybe some people will say, oh, that's a sell high because Austin Reeves was picked in the top 90 or whatever. Hartenstein wasn't
Yeah.
picked at all. It's just a waiver
I think
pickup. So
that's one of the reasons why
yeah,
some managers were vetoing. That's my thinking. They were higher on Austin Reeves than Hartenstein. Then Austin Reeves after that trade, Hartenstein blew up like the whole
yeah.
week this week. Uh, he's been
But
great.
I think if that is what you're gonna do, just keep Hartenstein. But if you're gonna say, I'll pick Claxton, I'll trade for Claxton, even if we think two of us think that they're close, rest of the season, I would go with Claxton because I think Claxton is safer. New York has still one move left. I think they're gonna make a trade for somebody. And if they make a trade for somebody, of course that changes the dynamics again. I don't know. Of course, it could be Donovan Mitchell, could be another star, but they could get another piece coming back, maybe another center. That could change some things there. That might mess with Hartenstein's value. So, it's still volatile. I think that's the thing. The stock of Hartenstein is volatile, but as of now, if no trade happens, he can certainly keep up what he's doing right now because they don't have any other center. Nothing, no one. And they already have Achua, they already have Taj Gibson, they have Jericho Sims. So I don't think they're gonna add anybody of value really to mess with him unless it's the big trade that they are aiming for, which they said they're gonna do.
Yeah,
So
unless
let's just
they're
wait for it.
trying to showcase him and then eventually get them
Maybe,
out, right?
maybe, yeah, maybe.
Because he's been there for a long time. He's been in New York for a few years now, and this is the first time that they really consistently started him, right?
Because they don't have any other option. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean before, even when Mitch Rob goes down, they don't really start him. They don't, showcase him. They don't play him as much, even
I think
even when there are injured players.
he made Tibbs look like a genius when he's really the opposite. It took it so long for him to see what Hartenstein could do. Even last year, if you remember, we keep on saying play him more, and play him correctly, not just make him a
No,
pick and
like I
roll
said,
guy.
Hartenstein is a fantasy darling to fantasy managers. Everyone, if you're playing fantasy for a long time, you know what Hartenstein can do. He was being drafted last year. It's unfortunate that they didn't play him as much. But whenever he gets the opportunity, he is a must-add player. Uh, Even going back to the Clippers days that he had. A quick one here: Capella for Hartenstein.
I would pick Hartenstein. I would prefer Hartenstein. Number one, Capella is very injury prone also. And we're not sure about Atlanta. I'm not sure about the direction Atlanta is going. I don't see them as a playoff team. They might start. You know what I'm more worried about is not the teams of Detroit, San Antonio, Charlotte. These teams, they're there. They're gonna be at the bottom
Yeah,
three,
we
bottom
know
four.
what's
But you
gonna
have
be happening.
and you have to understand the lottery rules. It doesn't matter if you're in the bottom three, because your bottom three, the lottery odds are the same.
Yeah,
14%. 40, they changed the rules. No, what matters is the 7, 8, 9, 10. Those, I mean, I know the top seven. The lottery odds of the top seven is really different from the 8, 9, 10, 11. So if you're Atlanta and you can get into that maybe better lottery odds, then those teams are more vulnerable to rest players when it matters for us in fantasy.
yeah. This is the a case of like a Utah last year, Dallas last year, right? That's those
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
the
Exactly.
those are the comparisons here. They're not good enough to really contend in the playoffs, and they don't want to get through the play-in just to say that they were able to get in. I might as well just drop everything and then tank for the later on, right? That's going to
Yeah,
be the problem there.
the top eight, the bottom eight basically. The eighth place team has a 6.7% chance, and then the ninth place team is 4.5%. So that's 2.5% difference. So I think that is where it really gets tricky. I think Atlanta will be close there. So I would probably go with Hartenstein. New York's not tanking. They're
They
trying
are not. They are
to
not. They're
yeah,
trying to win. They're trying to
they're
win.
trying to win.
Um, Tybull, is Tybull fine in 12 team?
Mm, I love Tybull. I don't know if I'm the only one here, but this year he has been. You know what? We're
Better.
our complaint with Tybull, right?
He doesn't
Ever
do
since,
anything else.
yeah, but he got hurt. He sprained his ankle, so that makes messes it up a little bit. But he's a top 75 guy this year. You know, there's value with someone even if he doesn't score because he averages 1.6 steals and one block a game with almost one and a half 3 pointers. So that's value. But if you are not someone who's punting points, then maybe he drags your scoring, then he should not be rostered in your team. If you have a strong scoring team, you can carry his lack of scoring, then it's okay for you. Or you're punting points. But yeah, for me, he's somebody that should be rostered when healthy in standard leagues. He should be rostered.
Uh, Julie's last question. Go Bear for next year pick. He's
Maybe
trading
that's a
Gobert.
dynasty.
Yeah, Dynasty. Doing Dynasty. He's trading Gobert for a pick next year.
I don't know
Who's
how
Collier?
they're.
Who's Collier?
Oh, Isaiah Collier, a freshman in USC. I'm not high on Collier. If it's Gobert for Collier, I would stick with Gobert. I also posted 2 to 3 days ago about the draft picks next year. It's gonna be bad. Uh in real sense, no, in real basketball sense. I'm not saying none of them will be all stars or anything, but it's gonna take a long time for those players to be factors in the NBA. I think all of those players. I'm sure someone will surprise us and do something, but good luck in finding that player next year and being right about that player. So I'm staying away from rookies, next year's rookies. If you're in dynasty leagues, maybe be wary of that. If you're planning about investing in those rookies, it's gonna be hard. Even the NBA scouts themselves, the one who does this for a living, are having problems already differentiating, these players. So I would probably stick with the known player, the guy that we know, the guy that you already know the value of, which is Gobert.
All right. All right. Just a quick shout out to some of the guys who've been commenting. Hugh Kong Tan, who's been a long time follower in YouTube. He says he missed us. So thank you for the love there, as well as Ken. Um, haven't seen us for a while. We mentioned why. We'll try to do this a little more often this year. Um, yeah, and that's it, guys. Not many. Some of the questions are too long, guys. If you send in a question, just not too long. Some of the questions they threw out their rosters and then asking us if they what suggestions we can give. That's so hard question to answer. Because we don't know where you stand, how the other teams are faring. So be a little more specific when you throw in some questions. Um, yeah, and then anyway, we'll try to do this next week as well. So at least once a week, we'll try to do once a week Q&A. Rock said he's missing the quickies. We won't be able to do quickies anymore just because of the schedules. But yeah, at least once a week Q&A. We'll try to do that. All right, that's it, guys. We'll see you guys again hopefully next week. Bye, guys. Have a good night and have a good week ahead.